What's up, good people? It's your friend and your brother from another mother, the Reverend Kenn Blanchard, and I'm back on the microphone. I'm hoping that you're doing all right this week. I'm still going through it, but this week was a little different. I got a chance to get in some wind therapy. Do you know what I'm talking about? I want to talk about that and a whole lot extra coming up next.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
All right, you may have heard that over the last 90 days, I've been struggling being a caregiver with my wife, and it's been the most brutal thing I've ever done. But love's keeping me through it. After I left the nursing home, after I left the hospital, the first 60 days, I used to go by Chesapeake Cycle, which wasn't that far from Annapolis, and stare in the window at all the motorcycles. There was a white Roadmaster, a used one that was there for sale, and I looked at it kind of with like, yeah, I could do that. I'd been taking pictures of Roadmasters forever. But there was this ruby red metallic Indian Challenger right next to the door with a hefty price tag on it. And it looked a little funky. I thought, I'm not really big on the fairing. It looks like the Harley-Davidson Electra-glide fairing. But I did like everything else. I liked the fact that it had updated tech on it. It had a radiator. It had some stuff that I could tell was forward-leaning. It was like future-proofing. And it grew on me. So as I went to nursing home, went to the hospital, went back and forth, I thought it would be so nice if I could ride again. It'd be so nice to put my knees in the breeze, like you guys. I've been just talking about it and watching you, and Teresa's been a good advocate and host of this show. I've been in the background producing it and happy with it. But something was missing. I was slowly going down. I was depressed. I was sad. I was fearful. I was frustrated. I was all the things you get from working with someone that you love 24/7 that can't eat, walk, talk, or do for themselves. I needed something. So I thought, well, if I got a bike, I could ride whenever I got a break. When somebody came over to relieve me, when I got nurse come over, when the kids came over, I could ride. Yeah, but the bike is expensive. You know how we do, how we rationalize how this is the most selfish thing I could do. And if my wife wasn't like this, she'd be yelling at me for thinking of myself, maybe. Never quite got that opportunity because she still can't talk. But then, as time went on, I thought, all right, let me just try. I've been saving very, very little. I needed something because I was starting to go down. And I said, all right, let me go just ask the credit union. If they say, no, man, your credit looks like below zero, then I'm, like the world is the world. But no, they're like, when you want to pick up your check? And I was like, no, that was too easy. That's not what I wanted to hear right now. I'm not sure. So I waited on it. I got the check. I let it sit in the bank for about another week. We brought my wife home, and I struggled with that first week of caring. And then my pastor came by and said, hey, man, what can I do for you today? I said, well, you can drive me up to the dealership. He said, I'm looking forward to that. And that's what happened. So I bought it, rode it home, put it in the garage, and have been caring for my wife for the last 2 or 3 weeks nonstop. Well, just this weekend, everything aligned, and we got a rhythm, and we were able to take care of her better. And my kid's like, okay, Dad, go somewhere. Be gone. And I backed her out of the garage, started her up, and rode my first 100 miles. She's still in the break-in period, of course, for the first 500. But I knew exactly where I wanted to go. I had been plotting this thing out in my head for the last 90 days. I was going to ride down to Solomon's Island. It's about 40-some miles from my house on an old road, 2 lanes, quiet, heading toward the Naval Observatory and Patuxent River, that area of Maryland, heading toward the Chesapeake Bay, which is not far from me. Man, was it great. Oh, my goodness, was it good. I needed it so much. It was almost orgasmic. Now, in the book, it says that the engine break-in period for your motorcycle is the first 500 miles. And during that break-in period, it's critical that you let things seat and mate properly. So I've been trying to do that. I was going to ride this thing, not let it idle too long. I was going to not do fast starts or crank the throttle wide open. I was going to drive slowly until the engine warmed up. but it was, over 90, so that wasn't no problem. I was going to avoid running the engine at extremely low RPMs in higher gears, and I was going to drive the recommended operating speeds and all that good stuff. I wasn't quite sure it was going to be 100 miles when I jumped on it, but it took me back. This thing rides like a new vehicle should. My Harley-Davidson Electra-glide was a 05, and it was analog compared to this digital. When I put it in the gear, when I grabbed the clutch, it was like pulling on one of those grip things that you use for exercise. You had to like physically really pull it. That cable was no joke, even though I tried to get them to loosen it and change the tension many times. No change whatsoever. When I put it in the gear, it was a noticeable clunk, and then you'd shift and off you go. This thing has 6 gears versus 5. And in difference, that thing is like, it's crisp, like pulling a trigger. It feels like a trigger. There's a click when you change gears, like you're pulling on trigger on AR-15, actually. And the sound. I know people like to put on different mufflers, but there's a sound to this bike that reminded me of the clicky-clack of when we put a old card in our bicycle spokes back when I was a kid. Yeah. And that rhythm and that sound that got louder as you burned on down the highway was soothing. And the feels of the temperatures changing through the forest and the woods around the farms toward the ocean was so soothing. Then I found out that not only did I have the AM/FM radio, there was also a USB port, and there was a USB stick already in it. So I swapped it out with one I carried with me that had 32 gigs of music on it that I'd borrowed it from a guy. He was like, hey man, here's some music from my collection. Here, you can upload it. I think you'll probably like it. It was only 32 gigs, but you know how long that is? It's like 6 weeks of music. Some of them were duplicates, but man, was it nice. And there were some stops along the way, a few red lights. And on the way back, and then me being gentle and just checking out a few things, I changed it from the rain to standard to sport. I put it in sport mode. And then at a traffic light, when I grabbed the accelerator, rolled that throttle back, almost popped a wheelie with this thing. Man, it scared me in a good way. I was like, woo, doggy. You go ahead, man. And of course, the cars next to me were watching because that metal flake was glistening in that hot sun. It was nice. I was riding with a 3/4 open face helmet. And I'm going to probably go shopping in the next couple of weeks and buy another full face for longer highway rides. And when the weather changes, I need some better gloves and update my wardrobe. I'm looking forward to that. Just buying crap and being a gaudy Indian loving riding mug, like the rest of you guys. And I understand why dogs stick their heads out the window now. I really do. I always knew it. The feel of that air. Not having a care in the world, except for the occasional bugs. June bug or cicada will make you mess up your face. But other than that, man, the windshield that I have moves up and down. So when I wanted to get some air, all I had to do was just lower it a little bit, and it put that aerodynamic foil right in my face. And then when I was down in the country, I raised it up high and actually caught it right on time because a bug splattered on it as it went over my head. And all I had to wear was my sunglasses, no visor. Nice. The only thing I got to pick a bone with right now is there is some rubber stripping on the bottom of the bags that has popped off about 1 inch at the tip. I can tell where the glue just gave way or whatever, and that's like sucky right there. And I've seen it in other posts on Indian Challengers, posts on Facebook. So I'm about to buy some epoxy or something to put that back in a couple minutes. But that's my only gripe right now. Oh yeah, and the display did blink a couple of times in a weird way. And that might have been from the USB interface being wonky. But I'll take it. You've probably seen it 1,000 times. Dogs with their heads stuck out of the window. What are they thinking? Are they just enjoying the scents and the smells and the temperature changes? I think we understand. I took it as a time to wash my mind from all the pain, from all the fear, from all the frustration. It was a nice ride. I've ridden this road many, many times because it's where I head off to find a headboat, charter boat to go fishing in the Patuxent River and out to the Chesapeake Bay. It felt so much better as a main route to clear my head, to think about nothing but the road, the traffic, the scents and the smells, like the dogs that stick their heads out the windows. I listened to the changes of the gears. I listened to the music that was playing. I tried to press on the buttons and see what stations were available down in that area, and I had a good ride. You could tell a storm was going to come eventually because that's what it does in the summer, but it didn't. It held off. And like it did when I was riding my 3-speed and the card in the back of the window, or the card in the back of the spoke of the tire, clickety-clack, I heard the same thing. It took me back to my childhood and the wind in my face, the wind on my knees. If I had long hair, it would have been blowing. Something that only we know, that wind therapy thing. It was soothing. It lasted a lot longer than if I had been sitting in my car. My daughter was like, you go for a drive somewhere. Now I'm going for a ride somewhere. I thought about the accessories that I'm going to be buying. Probably like you. First, I'm starting with my protective gear. I'm going to get a better jacket, more seasonal, that I can use for the fall. I'm going to try some of those new gloves with the knuckle protectors. I've never bought any of those yet. I've already gotten some cool kicks. I usually wear cowboy boots when I ride, but this time I have some Kevlar ballistic type tennis shoe that has the shift protecting on the toes and it's a nice bright red on black that matches my bike. It's kind of a hip-hop look, but for me, comfort is everything right now. I spend a lot of time thinking about the past, the present, and the future, about time itself. Hard to believe that next year, this time, I'll be 60 years old. 60 was old when I was a kid. 60 still is old. I'm getting near the retirement age, though I'll never retire. I'm actually looking forward to a new career as a broadcaster or a television host. Yeah, working toward that right now. Don't want to be just another talking head, though. I want to be the person of reason, a person of compassion, a person that starts conversation and hopefully makes other people think. And then once they think, take a good course of action that can improve their life. I know there's a lot to ask for, but it don't exist right now. I'm not trying to prove a point or look like I'm right all the time or none of that. I just want my world to be better. How about that? That's a little different, huh? That's what I think about when I ride, when the wind is blowing in my face. The hum of the bike was like the sound of a meditation. It was steady. It was great. And for a couple of miles, I zoned out, and I had to watch that. I was so comfortable, so deep in thought that I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. Yeah, that's how good it was. And I was reminded of the time that I fell asleep on a bike. I was reminded of the time I almost crashed because I was going too fast in a curve. I was reminded of all the times that I've been saved by the grace of God. And I slowed my butt down and paid attention. What do you think about when you ride? What's on your mind? How do you detox? If you're a daily rider, then some of the stuff might get rote to you. You might just get used to it and not enjoy it at all. You're just traveling. I don't know. I plan to ride this thing until the snows come. I'm hoping that I get some long fall weather, which is my favorite time to ride. It's going to be about an hour to work every day, even though we're going back and forth with the COVID thing. I'm looking forward to it all. I'm looking forward to life, to the rest of my life. I'm hoping I got another 40 years in me. I'm hoping. Wind therapy, that's what they call it. For some people, it's been you have to just sit still, but we're riding still. And there are times when we stop and we sit still. We listen in breezes from the whole world to the whispers. And that's just telling us what's going on. Within us is a stillness and a sanctuary to which we can retreat to at any time and be ourselves. That's a stressful thing, a stressless thing. That's a thing that we can do on the back of that bike, on the top of that bike, as you ride that sucker, as you breathe, as you let the feelings come and go like clouds in that sky, that conscious breathing, that anchor. That thing was like a Zen thing, right? the sound of the bike riding. It was a calmness. It was a peace. And then it was interrupted by traffic and making sure that I didn't blow through the light and get a ticket. There were people who were looking at me and I was looking at them. But quickly I was able to return back to my peace, which is the joy of riding. I returned home and I felt better. I sat at the computer and I thought, do I share this picture? Do I share my thing on Instagram? What do I do? After I checked in with the wife, after I checked in with my daughter, and everything was copacetic, as they say, I actually wanted to sing a song about the rose. Now, I'll sing it a whole lot slower and somber than Bette Midler does, but it's about love. It's about change. That's probably why I call my bike the rose. I know some people play it at funerals, too. It has a whole bunch of meanings. And as I think about, we lost Dusty from ZZ Top this week. There was a little sadness in it for that, too. And a lot of people that are in the world, this is their turn to leave. And that's sad. Another point, though, when I was riding, I saw how the sycamore trees were turning yellow and leaves were falling already. And I was like, all right, it's just the beginning of August already. And it has begun. The seasons don't care. The tide doesn't care. The wind is free. Time marches on. It's not a bad thing, actually. It's a time to get sad sometimes, but it's okay. Everything has its place. Everything has its time. And you just have to realize where you are on the timeline and be okay with it. Embrace it. Embrace the suck, they used to say. Lean into it because it doesn't have to be bad. And I plan on not letting it be. I am still hoping and praying that my wife recovers totally and we all become the better for it. But I am preparing also in case it doesn't happen. And it helps when you have wind therapy. You know, typically I would love to leave you smiling, leave you laughing, make you glad you listened to the show. But there's a time for everything. And right now I'm in a funky mood, but I know that you understand. When I was writing the song from Bette Midler, The Rose, was in my head. I'm going to leave with that a little bit differently. And hopefully I don't get slapped with a copyright thing on this thing. But not saying I'm a great singer, but I'm just sharing how I'm feeling because you're my friend. If you would love to support the show, I would love to receive it. buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. Check out our BlanchardNetwork.com page. You can see all of Teresa's stuff in the past. And I hope I pass you on the road soon. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Just in case nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Kickstands up.
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give. And the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies the sea that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.